Hello and welcome. It is Friday Live. I am your host, Strata lawyer Amanda Farmer. We're going out live to the Your Strata Property Facebook page. Hello to all of our friends on LinkedIn. Those of you who tune in via YouTube, you are all welcome. Right here, right now, this Friday afternoon to talk Strata with me. Hope you've had a great week. I hope you've been enjoying this gorgeous weather that seems to be around. I certainly have. Went on a lovely walk this morning with the puppies and we had a great time and came back to the desk, head down, getting some Strata work done and ready to roll into the weekend. What have you been up to? If you're coming in live for our Friday session, already a couple of eyes there, feel free to drop me a hello here in the comments. I heard from somebody in my inbox today after I sent out today's invite, as I usually do on a Friday afternoon. This person emailed me back and said, Amanda, I'm a huge fan of your Friday live sessions. They're very informative and in some ways, they're a bit of therapy for those of us who need to know that we're not alone. We're not the only ones who are dealing with enormous strata challenges. So happy to be here. Happy to be your Friday afternoon therapist, however it is you want to take your therapy. I'm looking forward to getting into this week's podcast, some new legislation in New South Wales, some case law. I know how you like a case. You like to hear about those real life stories. I've got one of those for you today as well. Thank you with thanks to one of our community members and somebody who I think tunes in here on a Friday afternoon as well. Rika is here saying hi. Hey, Rika, how you doing? Shana is here saying hi. Happy Friday to you. Georgina, lovely to see you. Hello. Hey, Petra. Those hellos are coming on in. Lovely. All right. Now, hundreds of you responded to my question asked just last week. I think it was just last week. We started off here on the page and then I sent an email out to you as well asking a question. Let me know. Hit reply. Let me know what is your biggest challenge when it comes to Strata books and records. Now, I've told you that I'm putting together a free training on that subject. It's one of those Strata bugbears that we talk about a lot, that I hear from many of you about, that is really difficult for you as owners and as managers as well to navigate that tricky space. Strata records, how do we keep them properly? How do we access them? What should we be providing for inspection? What should we not be providing for inspection? This area seems to be getting more complicated as our buildings, our communications, our forms of communication become more complicated. And you've definitely done a stellar job. Thank you, all of you who have responded to me. We have picked up every single one of those responses. If you haven't yet responded and you've got that email from me sitting there in your inbox, or you can see that post down further here on the page, what is your biggest challenge when it comes to Strata books and records? It's not too late. Let me know by reply or pop a comment under that post. Probably not this one here, might get lost here. But under that post, but from about a week, 10 days or so ago here on our Facebook page, let me know what your biggest challenge is when it comes to Strata books and records. You know how I roll. I want to provide training that is helpful to you, that identifies and solves those pain points. So if you let me know what is challenging you, what your questions are, then I can make sure I incorporate those answers, that guidance into our training. I haven't told you yet when it's going to be, how it's going to be, where it's going to be, but you will be finding out very soon all about that training. It will be online. I'll tell you that much. It will be a free online training for you about Strata books and records. You here on the page, you'll be one of the first to know when it's on and to get registered. And if you want to receive that invitation in your email inbox, do make sure that you're on our email list. If you're not sure if you're on our email list or not sure if you're getting our emails, feel free to send a private message through here on the Facebook page, on LinkedIn. Give us a heads up on YouTube and we can check that out for you, or just head over to the homepage of our website. That's yourstrataproperty.com.au. You can scroll down to the bottom and there's a form there that you can easily fill in to make sure you're on our email list and you won't miss a thing. Definitely won't miss that invitation to our Strata Books and Records training. All right. Leonie, hello. Hey, Sean M. Hello to you. Great to see you. This week's podcast episode, Natalie Fitzgerald came by once again, had a chat with me. Strata manager Natalie Fitzgerald has been a past guest on the show and has been with us here on live previously. Natalie is determined to improve the working lives of Strata managers. And as a Strata manager herself, she understands that change must come from within. And when I heard that Natalie was nominating for election to the Strata Community Association Board, New South Wales, SCA New South Wales, I said, Nat, come on to the podcast. Let's have a chat. Let us know what your platform is, what you're standing for. And particularly, it was refreshing to me to hear from a Strata manager, not a Strata lawyer, not a journalist, not a Strata commentator, not a Strata services provider, but to hear from a Strata manager how the recent media attention on Strata managers has affected their lives day to day, what they're hearing from owners, what they say needs to change, and what they think of their own professional association. Not all about what we, who may have loud voices in this space, but we are not Strata managers, what we think is going on and what might need to change. So really, really great conversation there with Natalie. Whether you agree with the Strata manager response or the professional association response to the tumult of the past 6 months or so or not, definitely tune in and hear what Natalie has to say. She referred to the ABC News investigation as Strata's Watergate that had to happen. She talked about how she feels managers could be better served by their professional association and how she would hope to do that if she was elected to the SCA New South Wales board, and talked about why a better deal for Strata owners must start with better service from managers, which I wholeheartedly agree with and is part of the reason why I have in recent years expanded my training and education services to deliver programs to Strata managers, including their CPD hours, because I too see that if we're going to improve the lot of our Strata owners, Strata managers really have to be part of that process, part of that conversation, and really leading that change by being more highly skilled, better educated, have access to the right knowledge and information so that they in turn can better serve their owners. So Natalie makes that point really strongly. Check out the episode. There's a link here for you, episode number 420, if you haven't listened to it yet. You'll see some links under that episode on the website. Those are links to the SCA website where there are details for SCA members about how you vote in those elections and also details for the annual convention. SCA New South Wales annual convention that's happening in October, and when the AGM, I imagine, is held and when that election takes place. And there are 9 positions, as you'll see on that website, that are vacant. There are 6 positions in the Strata Manager chapter, as Natalie says in the chat, and 3 positions in the Strata Services chapter. And interestingly, interesting timing. This certainly came out before our episode was published, not afterwards, but there was an update from SCA New South Wales that was sent out to members, I think, on Tuesday or Wednesday this week. Apparently, SCA New South Wales has decided to streamline their leadership structure, and starting from Tuesday next week, the CEO of SCA National, Alicia Fisher, is going to oversee the SCA New South Wales team. So the email that went out to members said that the New South Wales board will still retain all strategic, financial, education, sponsorship, and event oversight, but Alicia is stepping in from the national level as I understand it, the CEO of the SCA New South Wales. The board told its members this week that this is a step to build a stronger, more cohesive SCA team across all regions, was the wording used in the email. It's not really clear to me whether that means the national CEO is stepping into all state chapters or just stepping into SCA New South Wales. It does mean that the current SCA New South Wales CEO has been made redundant, Craig Marr, and he's been acknowledged and thanked for his contributions. And the current SCA New South Wales board says that they remain committed to showcasing the professionalism and the value that their members bring to strata communities, that they plan to leverage the collective expertise and strengths of their national and New South Wales teams to raise the standards of the profession. So any SCA New South Wales members who have questions about that can reach out to SCA New South Wales with those questions. And Sean's saying there was a new national president a month or two ago. Yep, absolutely. So this is now CEO Alicia Fisher, CEO at the national level, stepping in to manage the SCA New South Wales side of things as well, Sean. Philip saying, any word on SCA New South Wales complaints? Not that I know of, Philip. And I think you might have shared here previously that you had lodged a complaint some time ago. And I'm wondering if that question means that you haven't heard back from SCA about that complaint. Scrolling on up to some earlier comments there. Ryan, how you doing, is saying it's easy. Strata managers are the holders of the OC records. Any legitimate request to inspect records should get everything, warts and all. I like hearing that, Ryan. I like it. Hope you can tune in when we have our training that's coming up. And if you just arrived, don't panic. I haven't released the registration details for the Strata Books and Records training yet. That is still to come. But I like Ryan's point, definitely. Hey, Chu, nice to see you there. We have Sean letting us know that Joshua Baldwin is the new national president. Yes, indeed. Thanks for filling us in there, Sean. All right, I think we're good. That's what's happening this week's podcast, and some updates there from SCA New South Wales. If you're a member, dig into your inbox and you'll be able to see that recent info from the SCA New South Wales board. Let's jump into, still staying in our New South Wales pond here, we're going to jump into some proposed new laws for New South Wales. Our Strata Managing Agents Legislation Amendment Bill 2024 has been tabled in New South Wales Parliament. This is a bill to amend some sections of our Strata Schemes Management Act and also the Property and Stock Agents Act to strengthen the disclosure obligations of strata managers, to increase transparency, we're told by the Minister, for strata owners, and to bolster New South Wales Fair Trading's compliance and enforcement powers. We do have a link to the New South Wales Government media release if you want to check that one out. We've got the link to the bill itself. It is it's here on my desk, not too many pages. You can have a flick through there. There's a nice summary in the first couple of pages of what's changing, and you can go and read the proposed amendments there in that document. And I always find having a read of the second reading speech that has been read out to the Legislative Assembly, to New South Wales Parliament, is always a good cheat sheet for what is changing, what is proposed to change. Legislation hasn't been made yet. It's still in the form of a bill, has to go up to the Legislative Assembly. But this is really the state government's response to the reporting earlier this year, the revelations, the disclosures, what has come out and what is being discussed in the public and has been of concern to strata managers, to owners, and to other industry players. The troubling, says our minister in the second reading speech, instances of strata managing agents taking advantage of strata owners has been recognised. These include owners' corporations being charged excessive fees when they're securing their strata insurance, agents being swayed to buy products from certain companies over others because they get a benefit, such as a commission, and agents using the services of related entities to get financial benefits without the knowledge of the owners' corporation. So apparently this bill is going to addressing all of those issues that have been in public discussion for a large part of this year. The bill is said to benefit residents living in strata and also extending this to community schemes by imposing more detailed and more frequent disclosure requirements on strata managers, banning agents from receiving a commission for insurance products that an owner's corporation is otherwise securing for itself. So where an agent is not doing any work to secure the insurance policy, then they shouldn't be receiving a commission. That makes sense. Increasing the maximum penalties and penalty infringement notice amounts for agents' failure to disclose, strengthening New South Wales Fair Trading's compliance and enforcement powers, and introducing a broader enforceable undertaking power. Now, this bill, I think it's been a week since this bill was tabled in Parliament. And yeah, the critics are out. The critics are out, that's for sure. Some of you may have already read a little bit about this and have a view yourselves. Happy to hear it if you'd like to share. Criticisms from Jimmy Thompson, who many of us know and tune into his podcast, read his Flat Chat column. Jimmy was relaying, I think as he put it, the words of a Strata insider. Not sure who it was, but according to this Strata insider, the legislation is like being slapped on the wrist with limp spaghetti. Michael Tees has said that these new laws will likely enshrine forever the rights of strata managers to insurance commissions, broker fees, and related party transactions. On my reading of the bill, it really does very little, in my view, to address or to prevent the kind of behaviour that the ABC reporting revealed in March this year. Strata managers will still be able to receive remuneration via insurance commissions and broker fees. That's the case, as I read it, even where those commissions and fees might represent up to 40% of an insurance premium, for example. Strata managers can still receive that commission or broker fee via a related company, a related party. The vertical integration that Natalie talks about on this week's podcast is certainly legal and will remain legal as long as that connection is disclosed and the strata manager is of the belief, and they tell their client owners corporation that they are of the belief that this connection doesn't cause any conflict of interest. So you'll see that those new words being inserted into the legislation. There's a bit more administrative work for strata managers to do, a few more documents that are going to get attached to AGM agendas explaining all these connections, making all of these disclosures and forming all of these conclusions about the lack of conflict of interest. But as long as all those things are done, then those connections, those benefits, those commissions can still be received. Strata managers can enter into contracts with related parties as long as they give written notice to the owners corporation. And here's the thing that I find a little bit frustrating. If disclosure is made and owners aren't happy about it, it's up to the owners to do something about that. And it's not entirely clear what the owners can do about that. There's no ability in this new legislation to summarily dismiss the strata manager, for example, or to immediately terminate the contract if the owners are not happy with the disclosures that are made, or if disclosures, for that matter, are not made. There's no ability to put services on hold until the tribunal gets involved or until a representative of fair trading is able to come in and issue a fine or a penalty. There are increased fines and penalties for failures to disclose and failures to play by the rules, which I think is a good thing. But these are not fines and penalties that can be imposed by an owners corporation acting alone. They have to be imposed by fair trading. And it remains to be seen whether that's going to happen and how effective that's going to be. And once again, it seems to me that it is being left up to owners, which could end up being individual owners, to report these breaches of the law. So, on the whole, it's a little bit unclear to me how this bill really benefits residents living in Strata, as the Minister has told us that it does. What it seems to do is allow Strata managers to conduct their businesses as usual, albeit with perhaps a little bit more admin work. And it's important that I say that this is all not for lack of trying from the Australian College of Strata Lawyers. In particular, the college did make submissions on the draft bill, and most of our recommendations have not been taken up. So that is where we sit with our proposed new New South Wales legislation addressing strata managers. Bill and Ben, isn't this just another episode of Utopia? This time starring, yes, our Minister for Fair Trading here in New South Wales. Chu is talking about our records topic. Yours doesn't have any committee meeting minutes or records at all for the last 7 years. Wow, Chu, that sounds painful. Sean is saying, I think it's window dressing, referring to our bill here that's before New South Wales Parliament. Yeah, I think it probably falls into that category, Sean. More comments here from Sean, except that it's what it's designed to do, maybe engage an eminently qualified strata lawyer to get results if it remains ongoing. I'm not sure if I'm reading your replies to other comments there, Sean. Gonna keep scrolling down. Jeff is saying, has fair trading ever actually fined a strata manager? I expect it's a very, very rare occurrence, if in fact it's ever happened. Yeah, so I think has happened, Jeff. Rare, I think, is a good description of it. Bill and Ben is saying it seems to be a case of being seen to be doing something that actually achieves next to nothing. Business as usual is a very good 3-word assessment. Yeah, thanks. I think that is where we're at. Okay, we're going to move over into a case, important topic, and one that I have found very interesting, having a read through it earlier this week. And when I find things interesting, when I can see that it relates to what my clients are going through, what you tell me you are going through, then I want to bring it here to our Friday chats. So the way I'm going to do this is to share a copy of the case on the screen. Those of you who've been through this process before will be familiar with this. I've highlighted some relevant parts of the decision that I want to take you to. And we also have a full copy of the decision here for you to check out. So Rochelle will pop that into the comments for me. The case is called DART and the owners of Strata Plan 71849. It is a reported case. Unusually for us in Strata, it has actually been placed on Case Law New South Wales. You'll find it on Austlii. You're going to get the case law link here in the comments. It was a member of the Your Strata Property online community who alerted me to this case. And this person has said these words to me. I think it's hugely important for anyone living in Strata to understand the 2-year rule. And I'm going to tell you in a minute what the 2-year rule is. The person involved in this case was very reluctant to sue their owners corporation and instead tried to resolve things amicably through communications, through emails, through mediation. And they really didn't want to go to the tribunal. They thought they could resolve these issues. And the upshot is they now realize they were a little bit naive. And when you take too long in some situations to bring your complaints before the tribunal, particularly when we're talking about the repair and maintenance of common property and losses that you may suffer due to a failure to repair and maintain the common property, your rights can be jeopardized. There can be confusion, there can be argument, and ultimately you may lose some rights to remedies if you wait too long. The good news for the owner in this case is that they haven't lost their rights. The appeal panel has found in their favour. The dispute, the debate, the argument, unfortunately, is ongoing, hasn't finished yet. But what this lot owner has obtained, and what I think is beneficial to us as lawyers, to you as owners, and indeed to our strata managers as well, is that we have now this reported decision, which talks about what this 2-year rule is, when it applies, when it doesn't apply, and why we need to be really conscious of it. All right, I'm going to share the copy of that case here with you on the screen. And the links are here in the comments for you if you want to go and grab your own copy. Decision from our New South Wales Civil and Administrative Tribunal Appeal Panel, 26th of July. I'm going to scroll straight down to paragraph number 22, where we get a little bit of background. In these appeal panel decisions, you don't get a lot of background facts because the tribunal at the lower level, single member of the tribunal, has already considered the case and has already gone through all the facts and evidence. And because one party hasn't been happy with the outcome, sometimes both parties haven't been happy with the outcome, the case has gone to the appeal panel. And the appeal panel is really looking at the law, not so much the facts. But this is a good paragraph if you want to have a quick read, skip to this one. The appellant, who is the lot owner, had outlined a history of water ingress and damage into their unit since about 2013. And what you'll see is that these proceedings were commenced in 2022. So this owner had been suffering for 9 years before they commenced their tribunal proceedings. In early 2016, there were some water ingress issues into the unit and the adjacent lot 5 via the roof of the building. April 2017, the appellant's daughter saw 2 leaks in the 3rd bedroom of the unit, was either from the wall or the roof, continued to get progressively worse into the second half of 2018. Notifications were lodged with the OC and its insurer. The strata manager lodged an insurance claim for the water damage. By June 2018, water was leaking down through the air conditioning vent and onto the island bench in the kitchen of lot 4. No source was identified. Floorboards started capping in the pantry area around the kitchen island bench. Floorboards continued capping. Floorboards were a floating floor, and the strata manager refused to make a claim under the Owners Corporation's insurance and insisted the claim should be made under the appellant's insurance. Correspondence then ensued between the manager, the OC, the insurer, and the appellant. Another reason why I wanted to bring this paragraph to your attention, and I can see some of you saying that's a bit blurry. If I make it a bit bigger, how's that? It's not blurry on my end, but that could just be because it's my connection. Let me know, Rochelle, if that's coming through on your side okay, and if I make it bigger, does that help? I wanted to bring this paragraph to your attention because it sort of sets the scene of how long this owner was suffering, but also refers to this issue of insurance and insurance claims. And we have talked about this here on live. We've talked about it on the podcast, this misunderstanding, usually on the part of owners corporations, I'm going to say, whether this is through committees or strata managers, that if common property damage isn't covered by insurance, then there's nothing we can do. Insurance is irrelevant, as I've said before, and as I've said on the podcast, insurance is irrelevant. The legal obligation to repair and maintain common property stands, whether the damage that's been incurred to that property is insured or insurable or not. Just returning to those comments about blurry. Yeah, I'm not getting a clear description from the team here. Okay, let me know, guys, if you want me to, it's not blurry on my end, but if you want me to if you'd rather me not share, I'm happy to talk it through. If you find that that's bothering you, let me know. Let's do a poll vote here in the chat. If you'd rather me not share the screen. Leonie's saying she's just listening, and I will always read everything out to you as I do. So that issue about insurance, it looks in this situation like it delayed things. There was correspondence between the strata manager, the owners corporation, the insurer, the appellant. Strata manager says won't lodge a claim. At the end of the day, who cares? Okay, if this is happening to you and you're getting held up with your common property repairs because of an insurance debate, that debate just needs to end. It is not relevant to the owners corporation's legal obligation to repair and maintain the common property. All right. I'm going to keep sharing because I've got a few people saying not blurry at their end. So thank you for that. I'll keep going and hopefully the end result and anyone watching the replay, it's not too blurry, but I will keep reading out these relevant paragraphs. So that's the scene. We've got a lot owner who's been suffering for many years with water leaks. They lodged their application in the tribunal on the 28th of March, 2022. So we're about 9 years in to suffering. Not uncommon. Okay, not uncommon. I had a client who suffered for 10 years and then ultimately made a claim. I totally get the reasons why you don't want to start litigation. If you've tuned into my education about self-representing in the tribunal, I'm always saying make sure you got your ducks in a row. Don't start too early. Waiting 10 years, maybe a little bit too late, but don't start too early. Completely understand why it can take many years to get to this stage. I'm heading to paragraph number 45, if any of you are following along in a separate window. The tribunal, to shortcut how we got to the appeal, the tribunal found that in making their application over 9 years from the time they first started suffering water leaks and first started suffering damage to their property, the tribunal found that the owner was out of time. And the tribunal said there's a section 106, that says the owners corporation must repair and maintain the common property. And then there's a subsection in there, subsection 1065, that says an owner can claim the loss that they have suffered as a consequence of the owners corporation's failure to repair and maintain the common property, but they must claim that loss within 2 years of first becoming aware of the loss. So the tribunal, the single tribunal member, when this case was first considered, said, this is out of time. The loss, which is the water damage and the damaged property, was being suffered many, many years ago. And the tribunal member accepted the owners corporation's argument that this owner was out of time. The owner, yes, they were legally represented, not by me. The owner legally represented said, that's not right. That is not the way section 106 subsection 5 works. We're going to appeal this decision on a few grounds, but the grounds that I want to focus on today, because that I think is most helpful to understand, is this ground about the mistake of the tribunal in misunderstanding subsection 5 in section 106. So the lot owner said that the tribunal incorrectly found that subsection 106(5) of the Strata Schemes Management Act applied to a work order. And in the circumstances, the limitation period must apply to bar the appellant's claim. So what we'll go on to unpack a little bit further is that the lot owner's lawyers pointed out there is a difference between making a claim that the owners corporation do work, that is a work order, seeking an order that the owners corporation do work. We're going to call that a work order. That is a certain type of claim on one hand. And on the other hand, a claim that an owner be reimbursed, be compensated for the financial loss that they have suffered, that's a different claim. That's a different type of claim. We have a work order on the one hand, and we have a claim for financial loss on the other hand. And what the lot owner's lawyer said is that a claim for financial loss, you're right, it will be out of time if it's made more than 2 years after the date the owner first became aware of the loss. That is what section 106 subsection 5 means. When we're talking about purely an order to do work, an order to fix up the common property, that 2-year time limit does not apply. There is not a 2-year time limit on work orders. That's the high-level summary. Let's get into that in a little bit more detail. I'm going to go all the way down to paragraph 66. So this is the section that I was just talking about, and we've got a nice copy of it here. Section 106. Many of you have been with me for a while. Clever will know all about this section. The duty of an owner's corporation to maintain and repair property. The owner's corporation must properly maintain and keep in a state of good and serviceable repair the common property. Here's subsection 5. An owner of a lot in a strata scheme may recover from the owner's corporation as damages for breach of duty any reasonably foreseeable loss suffered by the owner as a result of contravention of this section by the owner's corporation. Subsection 6 goes on to say an owner may not bring an action under this section for breach of a statutory duty more than 2 years after the owner first becomes aware of the loss. So the argument, the debate, if you like, in this appeal was, what loss are we talking about here? Are we talking about damaged property because of a water leak, which is still ongoing, which is still the common property still hasn't been fixed? Is that the loss we're talking about? Or are we talking about loss because we can't rent the place out, because we've had to move out and we have to go and get some temporary accommodation, because we've had to spend money on emergency repairs, that kind of loss? Owner's corporation says, doesn't matter what kind of loss it is, you've only got 2 years to make your claim. Lot owner's lawyer says it's only the financial loss that may be suffered by an owner's corporation and not that ongoing loss, that damage to property that is continuing. There is no 2-year time limit on that. The argument was clearly raised in the proceedings before the tribunal in the first instance, and the lot owner's submission says claim for damages versus a work order. It has not been established in any case that the limitation period applies where the relief or the orders sought by the plaintiff is a work order relating to the lot property, which is the case here, rather than damages, which is not the case. So this lot owner was seeking that the property be repaired. That's a work order. This lot owner was not seeking any money for any out-of-pocket expenses. The submission was reiterated in the written submissions on Ms. Dart's case. The owner's corporation is responsible for rectifying the damage in her unit, whether that is damage to common property or lot property, and there is no limitation period that bars her claims. So it doesn't matter, says the lot owner's lawyer, if you have been suffering water ingress for 10 years. If the owner's corporation hasn't dealt with that, you can make a claim after that 10-year period in the tribunal for an order that the owner's corporation repairs the common property sufficient to stop that water ingress. Subsection 1066, and that's where the 2-year limit is, the appellant says is not relevant where the relief claimed is a work order. In our view, the tribunal should have considered that issue. It did not do so. That is an error on a question of law, and therefore the appeal panel can then intervene and have another look at it. The owner's corporation, on the other hand, said that there are decisions in the tribunal that have drawn a distinction between compensation for financial loss, such as loss of rent, and on the other hand, applications for repairs in the form of work orders, which are not compensation for loss. So that's the tribunal pointing out that there are past decisions of the tribunal that draw this distinction between the two types of loss, whether it's a work order for damage to property or whether it is financial loss. The appellant, the lot owner, was not seeking compensation for financial loss. They sought work orders to repair the damage, which was caused by the owner's corporation's acknowledged failure to meet its obligation to properly repair and maintain the common property. The tribunal didn't appreciate this distinction between a work order and a money order, and it was succinctly framed in the appellant's submissions to the tribunal. The tribunal failed to exercise its jurisdiction to consider this issue, and that was an error on a question of law. And this appeal panel has ultimately decided that the whole case should be sent back to the lower level of the tribunal and be considered again. The appeal panel didn't, even though as I understand it, the lot owner's lawyer asked it to. The appeal panel didn't make an order that the common property be repaired. The tribunal appeal panel said, you're right, tribunal member below got it wrong. You're not out of time because all you're seeking is a work order. You're not seeking monetary compensation or damages for your financial loss. Tribunal needs to reconsider the case and determine whether those orders should be made to repair the common property. Something that I didn't point out very early in the decision, the appeal panel actually says, recognizes that this is the proceedings so far have been underway in the tribunal for over 2 years. And given our decision to send the matter back for redetermination, the parties are strongly encouraged to negotiate a settled outcome without the need for further tribunal proceedings. And when you read this decision and everything that these owners have been put through, you would think, you would hope that this settlement could be promptly reached, because it seems the owners corporation's only argument against what the lot owner was seeking was that the lot owner was out of time. Owners corporation saying you can't make this claim 10 years after your home started experiencing water ingress, recognizing, however, that there is a problem in the common property. Now that the appeal panel has made clear that that 2-year time limit does not apply to work orders, one would think, one would hope that this owners corporation would be acting promptly to get this fixed. And I do have some inside information that tells me that, unfortunately, that is not what is happening on the owners corporation side. And indeed, the case is once again in the process of running through the tribunal. Just referring back to our decision here and looking at paragraph 82, there was reference to the decision in TAO, T-A-O. That's another good one to go and have a look at if you're interested in this concept of time limitations when it comes to the repair and maintenance of the common property. This decision came down in the middle of, as I understand it, at the same time the DART proceedings were before the appeal panel. And in TAO, it was said by the tribunal that we're satisfied the order can be made. There are 2 reasons for this view. It is our view that the time limit only concerns claims for compensation for loss. That's apparent from the reference to the word loss in section 1066. The action that's referred to in 1066 is the action in 1065, recovery of damages for reasonably foreseeable loss. Also, if you have a look at section 122 in the Strata Schemes Management Act, that's the section that says an owners corporation has power to undertake works of various kinds, and that an owners corporation is liable for any damage to any lot caused or arising out of any authorized work, and there is no time limit on the obligation for the owners corporation to repair any damage that it may cause. So TAO is another case that in essence backs up where the appeal panel is coming from in these DART proceedings, even though it was the owners corporation in this case did try to use the TAO case to support its position. The appeal panel did not accept that. Comment here in paragraph 87, if there's no time limit on an owners corporation's obligation to repair damage arising out of work that it has arranged to be undertaken, it doesn't make sense to impose a time limit on claims for repairs caused by a failure to abide by the section 106 obligations. And finally, you might have picked this up from or you might be reminded of the subject line in my email this afternoon. This is where it came from, this paragraph 94. The owners corporation pursued its argument that an owner could not use a work order to get relief. And when we say relief, we mean to get orders from the tribunal through the back door that he or she cannot get through the front. So the owners corporation was trying to paint this picture of a lot owner who waited 10 years to do anything about their water leaks. Owners corporation says the fact that they didn't take action, didn't sue us in that 10 years means they're out of time. There's a 2-year time limit. What they're trying to do here, even though they're not seeking monetary compensation, they're trying to get an order through the back door when they couldn't get through the front. And the tribunal said, we're not talking about the same things here. We're talking about 2 very different orders, a work order on the one hand and an order for the payment of money on the other. And the 2-year time limit only applies to that second type of order. Makes sense to me. Makes a lot of sense to me. And when you read this decision, you'll see what I think is a lot of concentrated efforts to bend over backwards here on the part of the owners corporation, and some fairly convoluted legal arguments and legal thinking being put into this. If you are at all concerned about a time limit that may apply to your claim when it comes to the repair and maintenance of common property, and I know many of you, very switched on, tuned in, educated owners are often raising this question. You raise it with me when you come to me as a client of my legal practice and you're worried that, oh, I've left it too long. I know there's a time limit. Maybe I now can't make my claim. This is the case. This DART case is the case that you can refer to give you comfort that if you are seeking the repair of common property so that this damage to your property ceases, and indeed the damage that has been caused to your property as a result of the failure in the common property, if you want your property fixed, if you want a work order, then the fact that it's been more than 2 years does not prevent you from getting that work order. If you are seeking compensation for financial loss of rent, temporary accommodation costs, money that you've had to pay out to get things fixed yourself, if you want a money order, then yes, that 2 years is going to be relevant and you need to watch that really closely. Bill and Ben is saying the costs of the briefs, the lawyers and the silks, the counsel must be nice for both parties. Someone is looking at a nice costs order when the dust finally settles. Yeah, it's interesting that you raise costs, Bill and Ben, because there was no cost order made in the proceedings below. There was ultimately, I'm going to say, no change to that sort before the appeal panel. And I think the appeal panel said that it wouldn't have changed that order anyway. That may well be different now that the case is going back through the tribunal for a second time, and with all of this very clear, I think, guidance, findings indeed from the appeal panel about the irrelevance of this argument about a time limit. Now, those are the paragraphs I believe I wanted to show you here in the decision. Yes, you can grab your own copy of it through our link. And again, many thanks to that member for sharing that with me. And as I said, I've had a little bit of inside information on how that one's going. And this has all been shared by this person, an owner themselves, in the interests of educating other owners and making sure that you're aware of these quirks, these places where you could possibly be tripped up in our strata legislation, especially when all you're trying to do is to resolve a dispute without recourse to litigation. Sometimes our law is going to force you to finally take that action in order to preserve your rights. Sean is saying to Terry, I'm not sure if I've seen, oh yes, I'll scroll back up to Terry's comment. Thank you everyone for sorting out those screen issues one way or the other. Terry's saying, hi Amanda, thanks for this. My biggest gripe is that the strata manager charged my account to pay for 3 false fire alarm fees incurred by my tenant, using my strata fee funds to put me substantially in the red, and then charging me interest, all this without my permission. Does he have the legal right to do this? Terry. I have a client at the moment who has gone through exactly this process with false fire alarm fees. The first thing that I would say, and this is certainly not legal advice, but the first thing I would say to someone in your position is go and have a look if there's a bylaw that allows your owner's corporation to pass these costs on to you as the owner. What are the terms of that bylaw? That is absolutely your starting point. And Terry, I'm not sure if you are a member inside our online membership community, this is a good question to workshop with me inside our forum. If you're not a member, head over to stratamembership.com. You can get straight in and we can have more of a discussion about that one over in our forum. Zlata saying members in NCAT needs close scrutiny. That is indeed what the appeal process is there for, Zlata. So yes, sometimes the members do get it wrong. for various reasons, and that is why we have an appeal process. I think this is a good, strong decision from our appeal panel, an important one that draws together some previous cases. You saw Tao, you saw Tezel mentioned there as well, cases about that 2-year limitation period. And, lawyers will be lawyers. There's always arguments on either side. There's always different interpretations of what our legislation means. And this particular interpretation, to my knowledge, in a reported case, hadn't been floated before, hadn't been considered before. And it's a really important confirmation to have what this 2-year limit applies to. It doesn't apply to getting a work order, to actually getting the work done to fix the problem to the common property. Sean is just answering, Terry, such cost recoveries have been found to be illegal and bylaws allowing it are invalid. Yeah, so it depends, Sean, on the terms of that bylaw. A, if a bylaw exists, and then B, what are the terms of that bylaw? Especially, you're right, if there's a clause in there allowing the cost to be recovered as if they were a levy, then that may well be a problem indeed for Terry's Owners Corporation. Leona saying, yes, they should get costs. The owner should get costs. Might be where it ends up, Leonie. The dogs. Yeah, the dogs. Yeah. Thanks, Mel and Ben. Push their way in. Hey, Jan. How you doing? All right. So that's our Dart case. Link there for you. This is a case that we will add to our members' case spreadsheet. So I bring cases to you here regularly on live, talk about them in the podcast. We talk about them in our member forum. And some members had suggested to me, can we have a one-stop shop, a place where we have a digest of these cases that we can go to if we're writing our own tribunal submissions. We're putting in an application about the repair and maintenance of common property. What are the cases we should quote? It's an application about an invalid bylaw, about excessive levies, about pets, about harsh, unconscionable or oppressive bylaws. What are the cases we need to refer to? So we have built that spreadsheet for our members where you have the cases with reference to their topic areas. You've also got a link to the online chat or the podcast where I have unpacked the case for you, and a link to a full copy of the case, including cases that are not reported. So often my members are giving me cases that they've been involved in. Strata managers where their clients have been involved are giving me cases to say, Amanda, I know you're a great collector of these. Here's one, an unreported decision for you to add to the database, add to the members' case spreadsheet. So remember, members, you do have access to that spreadsheet. If you I'm not sure where to find it, reach out to Rochelle. You can either send a private message here on the page or always email support@yourstrataproperty.com.au and she'll give you an updated access link to our member case spreadsheet. But we will be putting this Dart case into that spreadsheet for you with reference to the topic areas that it covers. Angela, hello. Nice to see you. Angela saying, sorry I'm late, but we'll go back over this video as it's relevant to my circumstances. Excellent. Good to know, Angela. Chu is saying, is common property the same as common property walls and anything on those walls to be maintained by the Owners Corporation? So common property walls are common property. Chu, I'm not sure what you mean by anything on those walls. There will be walls that are part of a lot, are the structure of the lot, boundary walls that are common property. But then obviously a lot owner is going to hang a picture on those, is going to put something on those, put some bookshelves, built-in wardrobe. That doesn't make those hangings and bookshelves common property just because they're attached to a common property wall. But if you're talking about a wall in the garden, in the common property garden, and there is a water feature attached to that, then it's quite likely that would be common property. So may need a bit more information on that one, Chu. Hey, Kristen, saying super helpful case. Thank you very much. Karen is saying, given we have a common law system, why is NCAT not reporting all cases, especially every Section 247 decision? These are at the extreme of strata schemes. Yes, I recently gave some copies of unreported cases that I had through, I think both of them were through clients of mine, to somebody, a lawyer, I'm not going to say who was making submissions to the tribunal. Again, I'm going to say, because we've made this submission before, making a submission to say, we need cases like this, like these important cases, reported. We need them all to be reported. The DART case is, to be clear, the DART case is reported, and the link I'm giving you is a link to Case Law New South Wales where you can access that one. Excellent. All right. Thank you very much for joining me here today. I hope that was helpful for you. You've got the replay here if you do need to head back and check out some of that again, especially those who may have suffered from a blurry connection. Do check out this week's podcast episode. Go have a look at that proposed new New South Wales legislation. See what you think. Let me know if you agree with my views or not. And do remember that if you're a lot owner who is seeking orders for the repair and maintenance of common property, if you are seeking orders that you be reimbursed your financial loss, you need to go and check out the DART case. I'm going to leave it there. Thank you for joining me. Have a fantastic weekend. Enjoy some lovely weather. I'm going to be on the move next Friday. I'm not sure yet, just waiting on confirmation of that schedule, but I'm sure I will find time to drop in. Next week, we will have our Ask Amanda Now session. One Strata question answered for you. If you have questions in the meantime, if you're a member of our online community, you need to head over to our Q&A forum, pop your question in there, and I will be available to answer it for you. If you're not a member, the place to go, as always, is stratamembership.com. We'd love to have you on the inside with us. Have a great weekend, everybody. Catch you next time. Bye.